What's up, guys? It's been a real busy week for me. Let me get the chat window up. I see there's 8 people in here. It says current viewers. I'm really liking Linnell's new guitar. No one's, if you guys haven't seen it, this is her latest purchase. I may have to take this one over. This thing is like really nice. It kind of reminds me, the neck is just a little thinner on this guitar than my Nitro that I played for years, but it has a feel like the Nitro. I like it. I'm still getting used to the harmonics on it. Oh, I'm liking this guitar.
Resolution said he used to own a white one just like that.
Revolution, you had a white one just like this? Did it have this binding? Like this? See how that binding gets really wide and follows into the neck pocket like that? I don't think I've ever seen a guitar do that. It is really cool. I like how they did that. How they made it go wide from the tip here, come in, and make it go right even to the bottom of the neck pocket.
He said, yep.
I mean, they did it on the top too. It's really cool. It's got a real pretty flame maple top on it too. I'm sure it's a veneer at this price point.
He said his was transparent white with a darker binding.
Oh, I bet you that was pretty. But this thing really has a nice sound to it. I'm digging this thing. So what'd you guys do this week? I'm not gonna play too much tonight. I've injured my wrist, and I was wearing my little wrist thing, and it seems like right now it's not bothering me too much. I'm pretty sure that I've fractured my wrist, which really isn't good. But I'm pretty sure that's what I've done. I have not went to the doctor yet to have it actually checked, but I am pretty sure that I have fractured, like just setting that guitar down right here, it hurts right dead center right here, and it's in the bone. So I have either sprung it very badly or I have fractured it. I'm not sure which. So I won't be playing too much tonight. I'm trying to give it a break. And I use an impact tool a lot at my other job, and I have purchased a new impact. I've purchased what's called a Surge, and it uses hydraulic fluid to soften the blow on your wrist. And I believe between whatever I did to twist it and the impact, I've been using the impact a lot the past 2 or 3 weeks. And my standard impact really jolted you. So I picked up a Surge on, I think, Tuesday. And noticeably, it is much easier on your wrist driving the fasteners in with the Surge. So hopefully I haven't damaged it. Hopefully it'll heal up pretty. Yeah, Revolution says carpal tunnel. I don't think it's that. Because I do have issues like when it rains. I can get up in the mornings and my hands feel stiff. And I can pretty much tell, yeah, it's been raining or it's going to rain. And it's not that feeling. It's something inside. I've either sprung it bad or fractured the bone in here. So as far as, hey, there's Jupe. That's for everybody, actually. I don't want to just put one out for Jupe. So I don't know what everyone did this week. This week, as far as me, I have been. Let me see if I can get this up. It needs to be on a secondary window here. Let me see if I can editor. Okay, I have it on the main screen on the computer. So if I go to display screen here, this is what my OBS looks like. I know it's a mirror inside a mirror inside. It's what it does when I go to display screen. But if I minimize it, right here is my video editing software. And this is poor Jupe's guitar. It is all naked. It's embarrassed. It has no neck. It actually has nothing. It's pretty much a bare body without electronics. And right here what I'm doing, I have my tools set in one of the inserts, and I am removing the inserts out of the guitar of the body. So the guitar has been, well, it's further along than this stage. Right now the frets have all been crowned and leveled. They have not been dressed and polished yet. But in this photo, it's before I taped off the neck and did all that. So if you look down here, where my little pointer's kind of moving around, this is the windows. So every one of these little lines that you see, it's either a speed up or where I've changed the volume or I've switched scenes. Now there are 3 cameras, but my computer is so outdated I can't keep all 3 cameras up. So the overhead camera, I just do little snippets here and there. And as I go through, now here you can see there's all 3 cameras. But once I have edited that section of video and I'm not using the overhead, I delete the overhead so the computer can process it quickly. So right now, Jupe's video is at 16 minutes and 42 seconds. And I am not completely dismantled the guitar yet. And here's all the footage that has been recorded. So right here is 16 minutes where I'm pointing between my cursor. So there is a good hour and 10 minutes of footage here, and probably another 30 minutes of footage here. And I can roll this up. So right now, there's probably 2 hours of footage. I'm not sure how I'm going to break the video up. I wanted to get some of the fret leveling on the video. But if I do that, then it's going to be dismantling the guitar and then doing a fret level. Then I guess the second video we could crown and do dressing and polishing. I was going to try to keep all the fretwork on one video. I don't really know how I'm going to approach it yet. But I thought you guys would be kind of curious to see the editing software that I use. So that video probably won't be done on Saturday. Since we're live streaming tonight, I can't work on it. So the past 3 nights, I've been editing and downloading footage. So I haven't worked on the guitar the last 3 nights. I've been doing this, the editing stuff. And then tonight we do the live stream. So tomorrow night, my normal thing, guys, I watch Phil at night. So Friday night, I'll watch Phil's show. That's usually about 2 hours. So that'll give me a little bit of time to work on the guitar tomorrow night. And then Saturday, of course, we do another live. So it'll probably be Sunday before I can return to editing. I might go down Friday. I might do some editing Friday night. But it'll probably be Tuesday of next week before Jupe's first video will come out. And I know everyone's been kind of curious. And this is just basic stuff, guys, where I'm showing you how to take the neck off the guitar, how to pull the inserts out of the guitar without damaging it, how to pull the electronics, unsolder the ground connection on the claw, unsolder the jack. And I had a lot of trouble with 2 or 3 screws on this guitar. You ever heard of rusted bolts? Okay, well, it's hard to get a rusted bolt off a rusted piece of steel. But some of these screws, when I was taking them out of this guitar, they were in really bad shape. A lot of corrosion on the screws. And I guess that corrosion, instead of it having the coating, the painting, the powder coating on the screw that helps it glide through the wood, I guess over the years, that screw being in the wood, being corroded, they just did not want to come out. Especially the screws under the nut, because the Schecter doesn't use the screws through the neck, going through the back of the neck, going up through the neck to hold the nut on. It has 2 screws to the top of the nut into the neck. Those 2 screws were gone. Gone. The one looked like it had been saturated in water for quite some time. So the guitar's evidently been around at some point in its life, a lot of humidity or salt. I guess salt air could cause some of that as well. But I didn't see it on the springs. The springs had no corrosion. The claw had no corrosion. It's just some of the small black screws have corroded. Maybe it was bad hardware from Schecter. I don't know. It seems peculiar. I don't know if I can see it in this. Let me go back to the display screen here. Yeah, you can't really see it there. Let me kind of skip forward. My computer's really bad. Let me see if I can get to the claw. No, it's back. It's here somewhere. Okay, right here's I rewound the thing a little bit. Right there's the claw. I don't know if you could see, because I can't zoom in on this in the editing software, so it's probably really small. But if you look at this silver plate here, that's the claw. There's no corrosion on the claw. There's no corrosion on these two screws. But the screws holding the plate on, the locker, and the screws holding the jack cover on, the screws holding the pick guard on, all those screws had signs of corrosion. So I'm going to probably have to do some work on those or get some new screws. I have some of them soaking in my Sonic cleaner, but they're corroded. So all the Sonic cleaner is going to do is knock the rust off. Since it's bare metal, they're going to want to rust up again. So I'm gonna get some measurements on some of the screws and see if I can find some replacement screws for some of, especially the jack and the locking nut's going to need new screws. The screws holding the pick guard cover on, I can salvage. I can salvage those. I could shoot those with some clear and salvage those. So I know Jupe entered the group.
Jupe said there's very humid summers where he's at.
Yeah, very humid. Okay, well that would explain it, because I'm seeing a lot of corrosion on the screws, Jupe, and it's no big deal. I don't know how old the guitar is, how many years old it is. I'm assuming you've played the guitar quite a bit because there were some spots in the frets, like where you had fretted, especially like right this the second fret and third fret, and down here on the A, there was a little bit of fret wear from the strings, and just a little bit down here on the high E, but most of it was right here at the A and the second and third fret. So must have been a cowboy chord guitar, or you were playing a lot of stuff in lead and A's, stuff like that. I'm in Providence.
He's talking to Birdman.
Oh, Birdman. Yeah. So that video will be coming, guys. It's gonna be kind of cool. I'm trying to show, and a lot of people might frown on it. I want to show everything. There are some spots where I've cut out, like the one jack screw, the jack cover right here.
You said yes, I played it continuously.
Yeah, the one jack plate screw, I could not get out. It was stuck. So what I ended up doing with that is I had to take a Dremel tool and cut a groove in the top of the screw and put a flathead in it and drive the flathead in it and use a pair of vice grips to actually pull the screw out of the jack. And once I got it out about 3/16 of an inch, I put vice grips on it and spun it out. So I cut that part of the video out because it literally took me 20 minutes to get that one screw out of the guitar. So there have been time-saving spots, but what I've tried to do is just speed the video up. That way someone thinking about doing this kind of work, it's not going to be like an episode of This Old House where you come in and say, yep, we're going to hang this sheetrock, and they hang one sheetrock and it goes to the next phase. It's hung, taped, and painted. Wow, that was fast. I want to show everything. And even though I'm spinning it up, I think it's good for people, even if you're fret filing. I do 2 or 3 frets at normal speed. The rest of them I speed up. So if you're looking at it and you watched it for 5 minutes and I'm running 8 times speed, that pretty much tells you how long it takes to do it.
Said spray some seafoam in there next time, bud.
Seafoam. Yeah, that would work. I don't know if... I've used to use seafoam, and I had a Honda CB650 that had 4 carburetors on it. And I had to put seafoam in that thing every spring to get it to run right.
Rezo said, laughing my ass off, I have a remodeling business, and some people think that's real.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of custom woodworking for people. And it's surprising, what people expect because they've watched Home and Garden TV, and they just think, oh, we did this in a week. everything can look good on camera. You know, you don't see the bad drywall or the sun hitting the wall or all the caulking that they used or what's behind the wall. So it's funny how people sometimes just think you can do certain things in a certain amount of time. Um, yeah, it's just funny. So in my video, I don't want to do that. So the first video, it might be a little boring, but if you're thinking about taking a guitar apart, I go through all the little steps. You know, the strings were already off the guitar, but I show how to take the tremolo out, how to pull the inserts out. A lot of people are scared to pull inserts out. They're scared that it's going to chip their paint. And I show you how to use a tool most guitar people have is that little fork tool that they use underneath your volume buttons. Okay, it's called something. I forget what it is. But I show you how to pull your inserts with that tool. And it's a great tool for that because it already has the felt back on it. So you can place that on the guitar and you can work that into your insert and pull the inserts out. It works well.
Rezo said he actually just finished a cabinet today, 140 inches wide. Took 2 weeks to build, 2 days to install, floor to ceiling.
Yeah, I just did the last project I was on. I did a teak TV unit that slid out of the wall because these new TVs are like 1/4 inch thick. Well, all the guts of the TV is in a module, and the module has to go inside the wall. So they had their Wi-Fi repeater, the module, and a bunch of other stuff they wanted to hide behind the TV. So when you pushed on the TV, the whole wall slid out, and you could get up through the bottom of it, and it was a 4 foot by 5 foot by 4 foot deep room behind the TV. So you would push on it, it would slide out, you'd get in there, and all the electronics were in the wall. And it had little sensors. We made little sensor spots for all the remote stuff. It's a smart house, so it uses what's called PLC, Program Logic Control. And you can program every switch in the house to do sequences. Like if you're going to the bedroom, you can program this switch and it'll light up a path to whatever bedroom. Or it's kind of crazy.
Your buddy Blah is on. He said, "Hey, big dog."
Hey, is Blah on?
Yeah.
Hey, there he is. Hey, big dog.
Pinagor's on.
Pentagore. Oh my gosh, everybody's showing up. Right? That's cool. I like it when everyone comes back in. So yeah, I just finished one of those. I did an arch door out of mahogany, the TV thing. So right now, what I'm working on is some. It's just pretty simple stuff. It's some shaker panel doors, pocket doors that go back in the wall. So I built a double wall and made the panel doors, and pretty simple project. So after this, I think I got some post and beam stuff to do. I'm not a big post and beam fan. I don't like getting way up there and doing post and beam stuff, but we'll see. I think I'm going to end up doing some post and beam stuff. It'll probably be all 8-inch thick by 12-inch tall, solid, 20, 30-foot white oak post and beam stuff. It's usually white oak in this area. We'll see. If I do it, I'll take some pictures of it. It's usually kind of cool. And then there's been topics on this channel about maybe doing a limited run of some custom guitars. And I want to qualify that by, I would order the neck and body, whether it's Warmworth or some other manufacturer. And we would just take stock necks and bodies and modify them to our spec. I would prefer a thicker neck guitar, and for this reason, if I get a thick neck guitar, when I do the custom guitar, I want to keep the thickest part of the neck, right? What I want to do is I want to take the thick part of the neck and I want to move the thick part to the high E at the top, okay? And then I want to come down on an angle and I want that thick part to traverse down to the high E, to where the neck is actually twisted on the back side. So when your thumb's riding, it gets thicker down here when you're playing the leads to roll your hand more up on the neck.
Niall said you should build some custom guitar stands or display cases.
I thought about that. I thought about doing some guitar stands on the CNC machine, because that's all sheet goods. So, and just do, maybe some mahogany 15 ply 3/4, and then edge band it together. I could do it out of solids too. I could do 4/4, mill it down and do solids, and that would I could nest. I could have 4 nests. I could actually have probably 16 nests on the machine. I would just need to put nodes on 16 spots. Set the part as the machine's cutting out this part. I could load nest 2, 3, 4, 5. As it leaves nest 1 and goes to 2, I could unscrew that part, put another part on it. The problem with doing that, you really got to keep the machine going to make money. And it's got to traverse at a pretty high feed rate to make money. Like Stringtree, I've never seen their plant, but I'm pretty sure that they're probably running it at least 160 board foot a minute. And, their stand is pretty simple. It's just a base plate and a top and a metal piece. So I wouldn't think that they have more than 15 or 20 minutes of machine time on the NC, and the rest is just cleanup time.
Law said squirrel mode assembly line for compound neck profiles.
Ha! That's it. Well, that's what I was thinking about. If I use a thicker neck, I could make a fixture to set the neck in the fixture, and I could run the CNC across here. I could really easily write the program and push here, and I could mic this off. And all I'd have to do is rotate. Let's say I map the C carve, okay? And this is 0. This edge is 0. All I have to do is go, okay, if this is 0 and by the thickness, rotate that a degree, okay, in the programming. And then the machine is going to see that high spot there and then machine the neck to that ratio.
Jupe says that's the kind of back of the neck I really like. No finish, just smooth bare wood is my favorite. Do not have a guitar like that yet, but will at some point.
Yeah, so you like the bare wood feel, Jupe? I can't, I'm pretty sure I can't bring your Schecter neck up because it's being, I guess, hold on. I'm going to go get Jupe's neck. Even though it's covered in tape, we can inspect partial work. So let me go get the neck real quick, guys. So right here is Mr. Jupe's guitar neck. Now, since we're live on camera here, I don't know if this one's going to show it up. If you look dead center of that fret, do you see that little black line? There's still a little bit of a black line on this fret, this fret, this fret, and this fret. That's what you're wanting. These frets are completely done in black. Okay, so what I'm doing on these, I've already done my rough crown. Okay, so now what I want to do after my rough crown is done, that gives me it's about right. So I go back and hit it with the black again, and then I go back and hit it with my fret guru. And it gives it a double radius, so it comes up and then ellipse. The very top is going to be flatter. So it's a flatter radius at the very top. Then my other file cuts this radius down to here. So it actually does this number. Like that. So it's two different radiuses on the same fret. So if you look at these frets, you can see it's not really, kind of hard to see. And then if you look at these frets, it's a compound radius. But the reason I got it, yeah, see, this is a lacquered neck. So this is the Schecter neck. And you can see it has a long tenon bolt-on neck. And right here, anyone want to guess what that spot and that spot right there is from?
Juke said, "Oh no, where did you get rid of the body?" And a bunch of laughing faces.
Anyone want to make a guess what that's from and that's from? There's the neck. These are the bolts that hold it to the body. And then there's a spot here in the neck and a spot here in the neck. And that is inside the body of the guitar. Like that. So the pickup is sitting right here in this. This is in the pickup route, this part. Those two spots right there, believe it or not, that's the screws from the claw going through the body on an angle, going up into the neck pocket and hitting the neck. That's what those two spots are. So that's Jupe's neck that we're working on. You can see I haven't fixed the chip in the neck yet and the headstock. So what I'm going to do right here, if you look at how that chip is concaved this way, it kind of does this number. You see how this neck has this sweep? Okay, I'm going to do this sweep angle right here. So I'm actually going to take that chip. See how it's swept in the chip? I'm going to sweep the neck right here like that and refinish this section of the neck. And I don't think, I mean, the Schecter person's going to know it's been modified. But the average person looking at this neck, it's going to look very stock, having that little concave like that cut into the neck. So I think that's going to be a good way of repairing or hiding this bad chip. So all the work to this point in the disassembly of the guitar will be in the next video that we release. Now I got to figure out where to put Jupe's neck. I'm going to set it over here on top of the motorcycle covers. How about that? Until I take it back downstairs. Hold on for a second, guys. But going back to, I thought about doing a couple custom guitars. I don't really, I haven't looked into it too much, but I think we should do, or I should do something that's kind of unique. I don't want to, could I make a neck, could I make a body? I could definitely make the body a lot faster than I could a neck on the NC. I just don't think for a low production run, if I did 5 or 6 guitars, it's not worth me manufacturing a neck. There's plenty of decent necks out there that I can take and make great. Really, with 3 or 4 hours of work, you can make a good neck great. You can. So I thought about purchasing a couple necks and doing, you know, see, it would be better if we come up with a basic body style, and then that individual could say, okay, I want a hip shot fixed bridge, and I want these pickups. I prefer these tuning ratio tuners. Some people like tusk nuts, some people like bone nuts, some people like the graphite hybrid nuts, or maybe they want to save some money and put a plastic nut on it. Do some basic spec changes to where each guitar is a little different, but it's kind of made to order type deal. So I've been thinking about something like that.
Juke said Avery's Custom Shop.
Well, Rezo, that's one of my big things. I write CNC programs. I don't know. Do I have any of the NC programs on a zip file that I can pull up?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of code. Let me see if I've got. Let me see if I can find an NC file. I got one of my zip drives in here, but I don't know if there's any MC files on this particular one. CAD, it's all AutoCAD. Let me look. No, these are just start and release codes. That's a Shopbot file. I mean, I'm sure I got some on one of these zip drives somewhere. But all it is like, G56, G21, and it'll give X, Y, Z, and then time, spindle speeds. It's pretty simple stuff. So, I mean, I could write it, do it up in CAD. I could write it. But I think it would still be easier if I had a stock neck that was thicker. I could mic off the neck, do a fixture, and then all I'm doing is milling off the back side of the neck. That I could write a program like that in probably 35 to 45 minutes just to do a custom profile rear neck.
Devastator said Music and Gear Customs.
It would have to be Dominion something, because that's the big thing. I'm in the Dominion Valley. Hence the name, like when I leave posts and stuff, it says Dominion Fretworks. That's where that comes from, because I'm in the Dominion Valley. Jumbo frets. Well, everyone thinks differently on jumbo. A lot of manufacturers now are saying jumbo frets, and I look at them, they don't seem like jumbos to me. I call those like medium jumbos, but they just say they're jumbo frets. So there's a big difference between, jumbo frets and jumbo medium frets. I forget what guitar I was playing the other day that had these really wide frets on it. Jerry White, you can stick a neck you like in a Ruby box. It will measure the neck 100% and give you the blueprint. AutoCAD just come out with a thing. It's about 15 grand though, so I don't have one. But it's pretty much a wand that you plug into your computer, and this thing has sensors, and it maps whatever you wave it across. It'll map it to an extreme accuracy. I don't have anything like that. What I used to use was I would shoot areas with a laser, and then mic certain spots. And then I would cheat. I would use a spline, and the spline would artificially create an arc in a point cloud. So if you've got a 3D cube and you point, you have dots in this cube, the arc function or spline function will connect those dots and give you a radial twist or whatever. And I've really never had a problem with it. The more dots that you can create in that point cloud, the more accurate your program will be. But I've never had an issue just using a spline. Some CNCs, if you're using, let's say, Fusion doesn't like spline coding because it has to graph out and guess the rotational arc. But Mastercam, Bobcad, some of these other CAD CAM programs, they don't have a problem using arcs. And in that way, you can point certain spots in space and let it average that radial twist out. Sometimes if you start telling the machine too much, you can have areas where the machine will automatically twist. Sometimes it's better to do that and let it average that twist out. And you can say, I want within 1% or 2%. So if your point's here and there are 2 points here, it may go under the center point 2%, then above the third point 2% to create a more even radial twist. So you can play with that too. It's called percentage error and twist.
Well, I said I would trade my future children's Ivy League college fund for one belt sander special neck from the Prep King in a heartbeat.
You know, you laugh at using a belt sander. I mean, guys, that's what they did for years. Go back and watch some of the old Gibson and PRS videos where they've got that big, it's basically a big spindle sander sitting out. And there's a guy that takes that neck and's just going like this across that machine. They have done it so many times, and they are just pretty much freehanding the back of that neck profile. The amount of talent, and it's just undescribable. That guy, that person has done that so much. They can feel that sander, and by twisting their wrist and moving their body, they're moving that neck back and forth on that sander. I have the utmost respect for the guys that there's still companies that manually do necks like that. That, you know, Gibson now, their Haas machine is roughing out their neck and it's roughing out the LP body. That's why if you look at it in an NC machine, it looks like this. It's got all these, and that's because they're using a bullnose bit, and that bullnose bit's going around the body like that. Well, even if you've got a 32nd of an inch step over, that means every 64th you're going to have this little ridge. So someone has to go back and clean that. You can't use an end mill, a flat, because then you're going over the radius. Then that puts you in what's called a 5-axis machine, because then the head would have to tilt to keep the mill even. And at some point, when you traverse around the radius, the end of that end mill is going to dig into the body. So it really technically doesn't work. That's why they use what they call ball end mills. But it always leaves a little valley that someone has to go back and manually sand. But Gibson does it. They rough out their bodies, they rough out their necks, and now the sander is just taking those high spots off from the NC machine, back and forth. There's a machine now that uses a belt. It's got a hand piece on it. They put the body on it, and they just run this hand piece. The belt is 200 and some inches long, and it's just traversing like this around the machine. And you've got this little paddle that goes on the belt, and it's got a table underneath. You put the body here, and you run your belt, and the belt's just constantly spinning over it. That they do a lot with that, but a lot of arch top stuff has to be done with like a DA type sander, so they can sand into that arch. But I want to keep it simple for maybe the first couple. I don't want to go overly crazy with anything that we do. Just something simple. We can get a neck and a body and build a basic guitar. I'm even thinking first production run, do fixed bridges. No Floyd Roses, just some fixed bass bridge guitars with nice nuts, nice tuners, nice pickups, nice Barnes electronics, nice wire, pure tone jack, just make it a nice solid instrument, but keep it simple. The old saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Do something of that nature. Rezo says, I prefer the biggest frets possible. Well, at that point, what you can do, you can lightly scallop out your guitar a little bit. too. Oh, Niles has got to go rescue his son. His car broke down. I get it, Niles. Go take off. Go rescue your son. No Floyd, no sale. Ha! Hey, believe me, buddy, I'm right there with you. I would say 90% of my guitars have Floyds or Kahlers. Um, everyone knows I'm a tremolo guy, but I'm thinking for the first run, it would be better just to do a fixed bass guitar, fixed bass bridge guitar like this, something with a nice solid fixed bass bridge. That's good for also drop tunings and stuff like that. Maybe the second time around we'll do a trim type system. Maybe do a Kahler Spider or something of that nature. Kahler Spider or Floyd. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's kind of what I was thinking. So, did anybody get anything new this week? I guess that's the new thing. I want to live precariously through you guys. If you guys got anything new or not. I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag on the RG that I picked up. Yeah, Jupe says do the Kahler. I'm with you on the Kahler. So everybody's kind of up to speed on what I picked up. We picked up the Ibanez here that I was playing, and then I picked up the RG that we're going to fix up. And I was just kind of curious if you all had been looking at something. Now, Jupe sent me a picture of a guitar. It was a Revstar with P90s on it. And this must have been their custom line, because this Yamaha Revstar with P90s, I'm pretty sure it was used, was $2,500. So it must have been their Pro Revstar with all the bells and whistles and fancy woods and the best electronics. I didn't know Yamaha made a plus $2,500 Revstar. But he sent me a link to it. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they made one that expensive. But it was a P90 guitar. It was a pretty nice guitar. Kurt says, nothing new in a long time, saving up. I was supposed to be saving up for Axif X3. I'm sticking to my guns on this. I think the channel funds, I think, are, after YouTube, I think we're at about 130, 140 bucks right now. After YouTube takes their cut. So the way it's going, it'll be about another month and a half or 2 months, and then the channel can buy something. But as far as me, no more new guitars for me. The money, I think I have $500 set aside for the Axif X right now, something like that. So I need to start doing what Kurt's doing, setting money aside for my big purchase.
Kurt's saving for a Strandberg.
Ooh, what Strandberg are you wanting to get? I didn't play one. Linnell and I drooled over one at Sweetwater that was like $2,700. You could pick it up. It was right there. I just didn't pick it up. I was like, I'm not going to play something I definitely can't buy. Revolution says it's love-hate for most. Just know how to make them work their best.
It's because Jerry said I hate Floyd Rose's complete trash.
I used to say that about Floyd's because I'm more of a Kahler guy. But you can make a Floyd Rose hold tune. There's no doubt. They're not trash. The drawback to the Floyd Rose that a lot of people have, and it's 100% true, If I take this guitar and I bend the strings, watch the tremolo. It moves. So anyone that hits like an open A, and then they come down here, and that open A is ringing out, the A is going to go out of tune.
Jerry said he's been playing guitar 45 years. He's 54. He said he's never played a guitar that stayed in tune 5 minutes with a Floyd.
There's two things going on, Jerry. It's poorly set up, or the knife edges are worn out. If you take a Floyd Rose and it's properly set up and the knife edges are right, it will hold tune. Period. It will. If you take a Floyd and you push on the bar and you let go on it and it doesn't come back to tune, that's usually a sign that the knife edge that's riding on that screw has a burr or something in it, and it's not letting that tremolo freely return to zero. And something that you can test it with, if it goes out, let's say you bend the bar and it goes out, if you just kind of tap it like this, don't really bend it, just tap it. If it goes back in tune, that's a good sign that your knife edges or your post screws have something going on with them, that they need to be taken out or cleaned or replaced. Another issue, if you bend up and it stays up in tune, and then you tap it, exact same scenario. But as long as this edge is clean and that bridge can return to zero, okay, naturally, always wants to return to zero, your knife edges are good. A Floyd Rose like this, like a 1000, you should get quite a bit of playtime out of it with the hardened steel. The German ones, about the same. You should get pretty decent wear. I don't know about the new Kahlers. I know the old 2700s and 2710s. I've got a 2700 in there that I played out constantly for 10, 12 years. That was my number one guitar. We played, twice a week, 3 times a week. I have never touched the knife edges on that tremolo, and it snaps right back to tune perfectly.
Jerry said every new guitar with a Floyd can't be set up wrong.
Most of the new guitars are using the specials. That's what Jupe's guitar has on it. The specials are made to a price point. Everyone wants a Floyd Rose. Like this Floyd Rose on this Firefly here, this that I have, this I forget, it's a, what is this guitar? This one's horrible, and it's a Floyd Rose. But this Floyd Rose, okay, is about a $50 bridge. This whole guitar was $300. It was like $315 with shipping. So a German-made or USA-made Floyd, going to be soon, costs more than this whole guitar with this Floyd Rose. So we always have to keep that in mind too. Goth has or Goto has an inexpensive bridge, and they have their better bridge. Floyd Rose has their inexpensive bridge and their better bridge. Kahler makes a more inexpensive bridge and expensive bridge. And they're just made to a price point. Somebody wants a guitar with a Floyd because they've heard the Floyd Rose, so they stick their name on it. I kind of think in this case, I think it actually hurts Floyd making a $50 tremolo, because they're going to put these on a lot of different guitars. And someone's going to pick one up and go, this thing just will not stay in tune. And it's going to, I would think, eventually hurt the company's reputation. Because a lot of people are like, well, it says Floyd Rose. They're not going, well, is it a cheap one? Is it a good one? That's why Kahler has never, ever outsourced his name. Every Kahler bridge that's ever been made has been made in the Kahler plant here in the U.S. There's never been an outsourced Kahler. There have been some copies, and a Kahler bridge copy, if anything is metric on it, metric pitch thread, metric Allens, it's not a Kahler. Kahler uses all imperial thread pitches and all imperial hex Allens. Everything's imperial on a Kahler. So it's really easy to tell if you've got a Japanese clone because it'll be a 3 millimeter or a 2 millimeter or a 2.5 millimeter. You don't have a Kahler. It's going to be, 5/64 or 1/8. It's going to be an imperial measurement tool that fits the Kahler. Don't bring them out, Jerry. I can let you play one of these that's here, and you won't knock one out of tune. I don't know. This guitar here's got some really awful strings on it. It really needs new strings. Let me plug it in here. I need my headphones. I've got a channel breaking up. I don't know if that's coming through on your all's end or not. It's breaking up. That's in my Mackie. The Mackie is 20 years old. It needs the traces cleaned. So let's tune this thing up. These strings are shot, so it's out a little bit. Like I said, these strings are shot. But you should be able to use your bar. This isn't a fair test. The strings are black. That's why I started playing the other guitar. I'm pretty hard on guitars. I get comments, a lot of them are, well, you beat the piss out of it. That's pretty aggressive. I'd say it's pretty good, especially since this thing is like, it really needs new strings. So I'm trying to get those harmonics. I'm also trying to get the pull off notes when I pull off. Missed that one. I really can't play it any harder than that. But if one's set up right, Jerry, it will hold tune. It really will. Believe me, everybody here knows I'm a pretty honest person. If something's a piece of junk, I'll tell you it's a piece of junk. Is Floyd Rose my favorite tremolo? No. Kaler's my favorite tremolo. But a properly set up Floyd will perform. It's just not my favorite tremolo, but that doesn't mean that I won't say a Floyd Rose isn't good. In my opinion, if you're in a band playing, the odds are, even if you got wild on a couple songs, that bridge is going to hold tune for you. I mean, it's not going to go out if it's properly set up. And if it's going out, there's an issue with the bridge. That's my point. It's either a poor setup or knife edges. That's usually what causes it. Sometimes the springs but usually it's a knife edge issue. If you're having to put heavier springs on it, there's something else going on. The smoother that fulcrum is on that screw, the better off you are. Yeah, that's just how it works. I'm still here, guys. Oh, I don't know if you guys had a separate conversation. I'm just jamming. I don't get to jam very often. All this week I've been editing videos, so this is my time to jam and goof off. I don't have any donkeys, so zebras it is. You know, at work they say donkeys means that you're doing donkey work. It's donkey jobs. And the one guy I work with, he watches the live streams, but he never comments. So if you're listening, Manuel, I just made your donkey comment of the day. And he's always saying, well, this is a donkey job, or this is donkey work, so it's pretty funny. Guitar Center tried to sell me a used LTD MH1000 with a big crack in the neck joint. I said, okay, it's going to be straight to Big Dog's Mecro Factor for review. Put the fear of God in them. You know, I got a Schecter off Sweetwater with a cracked neck. If you go back and look at the review, the screw back here, the lower plate screw, cracked the neck. I ended up having to put the neck in a fixture, separate the neck. First, I put regular wood glue, blue slow set wood glue down on it, clamped it, and then the next day when I sanded it, I put a wicking CA glue and let that soak into the wood. Now granted, that probably only soaked in maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So I put the wicking CA glue over top of it and then sanded it and put it back in the guitar. But nothing will piss you off more when you purchase a brand new guitar and you take the neck off and you see that they haven't properly pre-drilled the neck, and they've run that screw in it, and now that neck is cracked. Now some people say, well, the wood dried out. Well, the wood technically should be, cured well enough to where they shouldn't have that problem. Even if it goes to a very dry environment, it really shouldn't still crack. Maybe 1 out of 1,000, but it really shouldn't. If the wood is cured properly, it shouldn't have an issue. To me, they just didn't properly pre-drill the neck, and they ran that screw in, and it cracked the neck. That neck was cracked when it left the factory. I guarantee you. So, as far as what Blah is saying, I agree. That's actually happened to me twice in my lifetime. You take the guitar apart. One, was it like that from new? It could have been. My first one. The Schecter I bought at Sweetwater most definitely was broke from the factory because that guitar wasn't here more than a month. And I took the neck off of it and it was cracked. What do you do? Sweetwater did take care of me though. I had some other issues with that guitar. I had some warping body plates on the guitar. And they reached out to Schecter Research. Schecter Research replaced all the covers on the back, the electronics cover, the tremolo cover, and the top cover. Come to find out, the top cover, the problem was the route. They had just changed. The reason I got that guitar a little cheaper, that one still had the Floyd Rose Special on it. They went to the Floyd Rose 1000 and they made some changes. But the route for the one pickup, when you slid the loaded pick guard in it, that pickup was riding and rubbing the wood route. Well, they forced it, and that caused the pick guard to warp over time. So I don't know if they corrected that on the second run or not, but when I put it back together, I shifted the pick guard a little bit so it didn't rub and bend the back cover was just too tight for the route. I ended up having to sand about a 32nd of an inch off of two sides of that so it would fit down in the guitar right. It would literally just pop into the guitar. You can't tell me Schecter didn't know that there was a problem when the guitar was made at that point. Someone on the assembly line was popping those in and going, hey, this is a little tight. But they kept running them through. So I never got to see the second production run to see if they fixed it or not. All right, guys, I'm getting ready to hit the intermission button. So if you guys want to load up on your drinks, hit the restroom, you guys know the channel. We're only going to do about 2 hours tonight, but I want to hit the intermission button now, give everyone a little bit of a break. And when we come back, we'll go back over the next topic. How about that? So it would seem that I'm missing a pretty good conversation in the chat as far as trims. The Goth trim, it's a good tremolo. Or Goto. Goto, Goth, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, makes the tremolos for Ibanez, the Edge tremolos. They're very solid tremolos. 100% like that product. It's a well proven product. The good Floyd Roses, proven product. Kaler's Spider. They still make it today. They've been making it since probably 89, 90. Proven product. They've just continuously made updates to it. And believe it or not, these lesser priced tremolos, Jupe just bought a guitar off me, and that guitar has this tremolo. No locking nut. It's got this bridge right here on it. There's no locking nut, and that guitar out of the box, is it Floyd Rose? Can you bend the bar down to the body? No. But if you watch that review on that guitar, I was pretty aggressive with the bar with this 2-point tremolo with no locking nut. I was highly impressed on how that guitar stayed in tune. Now, this guitar has the same bridge. This is the guitar Jupe, if you're still in the chat, that I was telling you about, the HSS Ash. That's the guitar. Exact same bridge. So I know this one, if the nut's right, this tremolo is going to work fine. It's going to work fine. The 6-point tremolos that Fender used, a lot of people say if you back that screw out 1/8 of a turn all the way across and let it float a little bit, that really helps that tremolo. Now, granted, it's riding on a screw, so you got to make sure that that screw has a flat shoulder, that the thread pitch doesn't go all the way up to the head of the screw. That's the trick. You got to have a screw that's got at least a 1/4 inch of flat space before you get into the thread pitch. When you back that screw up, the holes in that bridge need to be riding on the smooth part of the shaft of the screw and not the thread pitch. That's how you can tell like a cheap knockoff. You take the screws out, the thread pitch goes all the way up to the head of the screw, that tremolo is never going to work right. It's a cheap knockoff. The true Fender screws have a little shoulder on them, and that allows that bridge to ride on that shoulder and not get into the thread pitch of the screw. So that's another way of telling if you've got a decent bridge. Take one of the screws out, look at the shoulder. If you've got one of the 6-screw ones. But I was highly impressed of this little bridge for a non-locker. But everybody here knows that I'm kind of a Kaler fan. I like the 2700 and the 2710, which some people call the killer bridge. That's the bridge that I used for years. I know the material, the hardness of the metal on that bridge is top notch. Like I said, I've never cleaned the knife edges on mine, and it still functions, great. Now my old Nitro, my 87, the post bent. The first production run, the screws weren't heavy enough, and the posts would bend. The second production run had a thicker screw to compensate for that problem. I've never updated the screws on mine. The insert is just bored larger for the updated screw, so I would need to change the inserts. Kaler has them. Last time I spoke to him, he had the inserts with the updated screws. I've just never changed it. The Nitro had a bad habit. Excuse me. They put the pickup really close, and they twisted the pickup. That lower high E post There's very little guitar body between that pickup route and the tremolo. And they were famous for cracking between the bore of the insert and the pickup cavity. So I didn't really want to lean on it and force it. So I figured I'd leave well enough alone because mine is not cracked right there. So I didn't want to tinker with it. It's an all original guitar as far as that's concerned. I did modify the electronics on it, but the hardware on the guitar is all original. And another good one is the Vega trim. If you have a Fender and you want to update the bridge, you can stick a Vega trim on it. Now, Floyd does make a Vega trim type tremolo without the locking nut that uses a fulcrum pitch that screws down on the base of the guitar, and there's a knife edge that rides in. I've never played with that one, but it looks like it would be nice. Well, thank you, honey. It took a lot longer to make my favorite beverage than the intermission time, so it's hot chocolate time. Everybody knows that I like hot chocolate. I guess Jupe's no longer with us, evidently. I asked if he was in the group earlier. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Jupe was here earlier. So I think he's left the group for right now. I wanted to say Vito used Zions.
Did you see where Burban asked what you think Amazon and others do with broken guitars that are sent back due to broken necks?
From what I understand, how Amazon does return things, they do pallet sell-offs. So they'll have a bunch of returned items all shrunk wrap on a pallet, and you bid on that pallet. So whatever's in that pallet, that's what you get. That's how I understood how Amazon did things, which to me really doesn't make any sense. You don't really know what you're getting. It's a shrink wrapped pallet stacked full of returns. And I guess you look at the pictures, and I guess you can kind of see what's there, and then you make a bid on it. That's how I've heard they did things. Other than that, I've never seen them do discounted prices on returned items. I've seen refurbished on Amazon, Mr. Birdman, but to my knowledge, Amazon just takes shrink wrap. They take a bunch of returns, put them on a pallet, shrink wrap it together, and you bid on that pallet of returned items. If someone knows other than that, you can kind of post. But that's how I understood they did things.
Jupe said, I'm here. My intermission was a tad longer.
So now Jupe got the one guitar I sent him with the 2-point tremolo. And I thought that guitar, for a non-locking tremolo, it works really well. I would take that guitar out and play anywhere with it. That Firefly White Ash that he got off of me, it was more of the Ibanez Super Strap model. We did a review on it. As long as you don't hit it with really high gain and you're doing crunchy gain and cleans, that guitar is awesome. And believe it or not, playing out live with high gain, 95% of the people out there listening, they're not going to hear that pickup being a little muddy. They're really not. So if I went out playing a shady place that I might be worried, someone would come up and take something, I would have no reservation whatsoever taking that Firefly and my little Line 6 stomp. And if they got front of house, just the Firefly into the Line 6 to front of house, or take this little Yamaha. That's what you all have been hearing tonight is the Yamaha. Take that, go out of the headphone jack, and just run it straight to front of house. I would have no issues at all. Oh, there we go. We got our first super chat tonight. So now, with the Amazon take on that, we're probably going to be at about 160, I'm guessing, on the guitar fund for the channel buying for Reviews. Thank you so much, Jupe. But But yeah, Jupe can tell you about that guitar. He's had it now for at least 3 or 4 weeks. So I know he's had the time to put better strings on it and actually play the guitar. But that guitar I did nothing to. I didn't do the frets. I didn't do a setup on it. I did a review and Jupe bought it as is. But that's probably one of the best Fireflies out of the box that this channel's gotten.
Rezo says YouTube gets 40% of that.
It's not quite 40%. How much is it, hon?
It's 30%.
I think it's 30%. I'm pretty sure it's 30%, Rezo, that they take. Which, that's fine. If you look at, I have everything set on minimums as far as commercials on post-play or pre-play. And I watch my own videos to see how I can improve or how I misspeak. I misspeak a lot, especially in my videos. That's why the little squirrel comes up and says, hey, this idiot just said this. I think it's a joke. I'm not going to go back and punch in and make a correction. I'm human just like you guys. I do YouTube guitar content because I love guitar. And I've been playing guitar for a long time. I've been working on guitars for a long time. So I figured I can share what I know, and then the community can share what they know to me, and then together we meet somewhere in the middle. That's how I approach things. So YouTube, you know, when I watch my own videos, the ad, we don't get anything. If you want to talk about YouTube making money, they're making their money off the ads because the content creator gets scraps. I thought about just actually not doing any ads because in reality, it's just not worth the $4 or $5 that you're going to make in a month on the ads on a video. It's just not. I see we got a couple new people in the group. It looks like we have AC. I don't think I've seen AC comment. And then LRE TV. I want to welcome you guys to the chat.
Can you recommend a good HSS wiring harness with smooth volume pot for swells?
Pre-wired, probably not. I can't recommend one. If you want good pots, I would do Barnes, okay? And then if you don't do Barnes pots, CTS makes good pots. And there's another company, what's that other one, hon? Alpha. If you want to save a little bit of money, there's nothing wrong with the Alpha pots whatsoever. They're going to be a little cheaper than the CTS, and I think they perform just as good as CTS. But if you want the best as far as having control, Barnes, I think, is the best. Now, there's two different versions. You can do a linear, or you can do, there's two versions. There's linear, there's two different pots. One has a curve, okay? So the pot in your guitar might not necessarily be cheap. It just may be the way the pitch curve is on the potentiometer itself. And I can't remember which one is which. I've got it wrote down which one I order, so I always order the same. Yeah, honey?
I was going to say, Jerry was just asking if anybody, not just you specifically, but anybody ever used Guitar Fetish parts. Haven't you?
Used what?
Guitar Fetish parts?
Guitar?
Fetish parts.
I've never ordered, Jerry, from Guitar Fetish. The only thing that I can tell you is what I've heard from. Trying to think if I have any first-hand knowledge of Guitar Fetish from a person that I know directly.
I thought you had. He was asking everybody, but.
I've only heard that it's good bang for the buck, if that makes sense. What you do, Jerry, is order a couple items. Order some hardware from them, maybe a pickup from them, and just dip your toe in the water. I've heard that the XPS line that they have for bodies. I've heard that they're really nice bodies, good finish work on them. I've heard some of their pickups are really nice. But it's like anything else. Everything's based on a price point. Um, you can get a good Wilkinson pickup. You know, I think they make one of the better pickups at a price point. That MS line they have, that's a solid pickup. And you can get a HSS setup for like 75, 80 bucks, all three pickups from Wilkinson. It's a good pickup. They have it in a vintage voice or modern voice. They're solid pickups. Are Seymour Duncan's better? I don't know. I like JB's. But everyone here knows what I feel about pickups. I think the amount of money that we spend on upgrades and stuff like that, for what you get, let's say you buy a $250 upgraded pickups and you put in the guitar. Does it make it better? Sure it does. It brings it up a little bit. And what LRE TV just asked as far as potentiometers. Doing nice Barnes potentiometers. Does it help? Probably a little bit. You put nice caps in the guitar. Let's say you buy Bumblebee caps. They're like $35 for a Bumblebee cap. Is it really any better? I'll be honest with you guys. A good $15 cap. My little squirrel ears, really, I can't tell the difference between a Bumblebee cap and a really nice orange drop or nice oil cap. And I'm not talking about a cheap one that you get on Amazon for $4. A nice orange drop cap should probably cost you about $7 for a nice one. You could probably spend up to $12. A nice oil filter cap, you're probably looking at maybe $15, $16 for a nice one. They can go up to 30, 25, 30 bucks too. But if you compare the nice one to the Bumblebee, okay, maybe it's 1% better. I'm just going to throw in maybe 1%. Can you audibly hear that 1%? Well, if you take that 1% plus the 2 or 3% a nice pot will give you, plus 1 or 2% that your nice wire will give you, that you're not choking down, a nice copper oxygen-free wire that's been properly shielded, a nice jack that makes contact in two spots. When you start stacking all these things together, maybe the end result is 10 or 15% better. But even at 10 or 15%, we can EQ it. With these new amps, you can put an EQ between your guitar and your amplifier. You can take a single coil with a nice EQ pedal in front, and you can beef it up. Is it going to necessarily sound like a humbucker? No, but you can get it close. And then you can do your guitar work and have your other EQ and your guitar chain, your amplifier. You can do so much with it. And I'm not saying modifying and upgrading your guitars is not worth it. I'm just saying watch where you spend your dollars. I think you can build, like we were talking about building a custom guitar. If I wanted to build a nice guitar that played well and sounded well, I would probably put the Wilkinson MS pickups in it. I think those, and I've got another brand downstairs that starts with a Z. They're good, and there's a company called Guitar Heads. They make what is it? It's like the Gibson PF pickup, PAF. They make a modified PF. It's a high output PAF. I think that Guitar Head PAF, I think it's like $70 now for both. To me, that's the bee's knees. On just, it's a PAF that hits your amp a little harder than the old PAFs. If you like that sound, then the Guitar Heads is the way to go. If you want more of a modern scooped sound, I have to look at the brand name. It's downstairs. It starts with a Z. I think they're great. But if you want just an overall good pickup for a working man's guitar, the Wilkinsons work well. The big thing I'm on with electronics is the Pure Tone jack. And it's not about it sounding better. It's about plugging the guitar in and knowing that you have a solid contact. As you move around on stage, you're not going to get that annoying crackle sound from your jack getting fatigue after using it 5 or 6 years. That jack is going to make contact for years and years and years. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to work. That's why I always say the best modification that you can do for your guitar for $8, Pure Tone jack. And people go, well, my jack's fine. Okay, in 5 or 6 years, it's going to, because it's only making contact in one point. It's 8, well, you got to buy 2. So you can't buy just one. I think 2 is like $13. So it's like $7 for one. Do both your guitars. That's a cheap, inexpensive modification, and you know you have a good connection. The next cheap thing you can do to your guitar is shielding. You can, to start with, just put shielding tape on your cover plate. That actually helps. Shielding around the pickup in the cavity on a guitar like this, okay, is it really doing anything? You're only shielding 3 sides. The top is still open, okay?
Is it Zex coil?
Maybe it's Zex coil. It might be. I can't remember, Devastator. I have to go down. I know it starts with a Z. But a pick guard, when you go around it, and these type, if you shield around the inside and you still have that gap. That's as good as it's going to get. So it's never going to be 100% encapsulated anyway. You got a magnet on the back of that pickup, and then you have the winding. So the interference coming in from that has to go through that magnetic field to start with. So it's going to be disrupted. So doing the back is probably the spot that you're going to pick up the most. I have a couple guitars where they've used copper on the inside around the pickups. And it does help. If you do all that and you use what they call one-side bonded ground shielding wiring, where you're going to bond one side and the other side is not bonded. Okay, it just acts as a shielding wrap. And you bond all your copper tape to that, okay, I think then you have a really good guitar to play under some pretty noisy fluorescent lights. There's so many things that you can do. That's why I was thinking about, as far as doing a custom guitar, I think I would do Pure Tone jack, the Wilkinson pickups, do some nice, maybe Schaller tuners. Goth makes good, Goto makes good tuners. A $70 tuner, that's a solid tuner. You can get a 20-to-1 tuner from a bunch of different companies for $70. So another 70 for your pickups. Do simple wiring, one tone, one volume, a 3-way switch, Pure Tone jack wire. You're probably looking at $35, $40 max for all that. Then a neck and a body, a nut. You should be able to get parts to build a heck of a guitar for $450 in parts. Now you have to assemble it and modify it and make it your own creation, because those are just parts. Parts don't make a guitar. You still have to assemble it. You still have to make it right. Make sure the neck is right on the guitar. But I think that would be a good starting point. Is it going to be good value for the buck? I don't know. That's why I thought about trying one time. Just do one, see what ends up happening. Jerry says you're right, Avery. That's the only thing I saw. Someone said I was right. Isn't that awful? I don't know what I'm right about, but thank you. Jerry's not here tonight, guys, so I'm not getting picked on. Jerry would just say I'm off on a tangent again. And I do that. I'll read one comment and I just go out. And I probably went so far off topic that it just came full circle again. Yeah, Graph Tech makes good nuts. Yeah, I think the first guitar we do would be a fixed bridge. And going circle, as they said in the old administration, we're going to circle back to that. To circle back, the one drawback to any floating bridge, whether it's a Kaler, when you bend the strings, if you're playing an open note, the open note goes out of tune. That's why a lot of the guys doing drop tunings, they don't really like the Floyd Rose because the spring setups for Floyd Roses are usually set up for 30, 40, 35, 40. So no one's really experimented with different spring rates for those type tunings. So a lot of people will take 4 greens or 4 blacks or 2 blacks and 2 reds, and they try to experiment to get that sweet spot for that drop tune. And I think guys have had pretty good success with it. I did a guitar for, he was in one of the very first chats. He called it a bazooka, and it was a Harley Benton that I did. We did a custom bridge on that. He was playing drop C, I think. And that guitar held tune well. But I had that guitar for about 6 months. And I went through 5 or 6 different spring rates and combinations of springs before I found one that I was happy with, that guitar seemed to be happy at that tuning. Now, if he goes to 440 tune, that guitar is not going to be right because it was set up to do drop C at 35 40 drop C. So kind of a strange tune. So what body style, Jerry's asking? I kind of like the Telly body style, but I also like the Super Strat body style like this. So I kind of like this body style. I like Telly body styles. I like the standard Strat body style too. But if I did one, it would probably be an offset version of this. I think this needs to come out a little more, and the body needs to be cut like this, offset. Less body here, more body up here. Because if you feel your guitar where your arm rests, if this was just a fraction longer to get your arm over it, because right now when you're picking, you're actually like right in here. So pick up your guitar, guys, and get in your muting position. And you're going to find that you're right. See where I'm at? That's in my muting position. So if this body was another 1/2 inch, my arm would be more stable on the guitar. And I think cutting the body off here and offsetting it, okay, so the body kind of goes up like this a little bit more. Bring this in where this part of the body comes down more and then back up. So this radius becomes, I've got a design in my head. I would have to AutoCAD it out. It's pretty cool. And I know it would be comfy. And it would be better on your lap when you set your guitar on your lap. Like this is setting on my leg. The camera is showing the leg. Moving this forward and pulling this back and making this arch more right here, okay, is going to pull the guitar a little more forward on your body. Just a little bit, a 1/2 inch. I think that would be just a more comfy position. Plus, by making this flatter right here, bringing this in and then flattening it on this arc is going to make this position play a little better too. When you're doing your, but you never know. You can talk until you're blue in the face about what you think would be right until you build it and you put the neck on it and you put it in your lap and feel how the guitar is going to balance. You know, you do that. you're cutting material off the lower part of the body and then you're adding it to the upper back. So where you position the weight on that body will either offset neck dive or make the neck dive worse. So that's another consideration. You might cut the body like that and now the guitar has neck dive. So then you either have to change materials, go to a denser wood, or if you stick with that wood, you need to increase mass somewhere. The further away you go from the balancing point of the guitar, like the balancing point's usually right at the neck socket, back a little bit, the further you go back this direction, the less weight you have to add. The more you go towards the neck pocket, the more weight you have to add to offset neck dive. My air conditioner just cut on, guys. Let me turn it off. I know it's noisy. Does that kind of make sense? So if you're balancing something, let's say we're going to balance this, okay? And it's way off balance like that. So it's going to want to fall this direction. The more weight I put out here on this end, the less weight it's going to take to balance it. The further I move that weight in towards the fulcrum, the more weight it's going to take to balance the fulcrum point, if that makes sense. So by taking the material here and then sticking it up here, it may make the guitar go this way. But you have to put it together, experiment with it, and see what the body does. AutoCAD can get you close. If you tell it the density of the wood and cubic mass, okay, when you draw it by the density and the mass, the cubic volume of weight per square inch, if you give it that information and you tell it where your center of gravity needs to be as far as balancing, CAD will tell you one way or the other. You know, it's actually scary close. The same with deflection. When you start drawing laminate beams, it can tell you how much deflection something's going to have. So I just never have done it. I guess I should put it in AutoCAD and see what it does. Rezo says drop C.
I think he's talking to Penagore.
Drop C is a cool tune. I don't play too much in drop C. Trace, Jerry's saying trace this one. Yeah, this is a pretty common body shape now. Ibanez has made the thin horn guitars pretty popular. I actually like this because there's a lot of room here. There really is. So no matter how stupid you're getting, if you're going to hit this horn, you've really got to do something kind of stupid, because there's just a tremendous amount of room here for your hand. So it's well thought out. And this guitar balances really, really well. And we weighed this guitar. It was under 6 pounds. I think this guitar is like 5 pounds, 10 ounces. This guitar is stupid light. So I'm going to say that this is most likely some kind of poplar with a maple veneer, very thin maple veneer on it. Because it does have the maple neck. But even with that maple neck and the poplar, look. I don't want it to fall because Linnell will kick my butt because it's her guitar. I'm not holding it. It's just balancing there. That's crazy when you consider this guitar is under 6 pounds and this really lightweight body is offsetting that neck weight. Now you can tell the neck is down just a little bit. So the neck is just a fraction heavier. But it's not so bad where I can't look. I'm going to catch it before it. They're right there.
Jerry said that Ibanez looks like a Prestige.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it probably runs part of the same program as the Prestige. So when we balance this out again, I'm going to show you. I'm going to roll the fulcrum until it starts to fall. So that's dead. That's pretty much level right there. So considering the weight on the guitar, and this is a 24 fret guitar, so that makes the body set back even more. It's well balanced. I'm I can't say anything bad about the engineering on it. It's well thought out. It's a well thought out guitar. And I've said this a million times. We kind of live in the age of just great everything. Even a very inexpensive guitars now are playing well. CNCs have really taken a lot of that guesswork out. You know, now there's a machine routing out the bodies. And companies that pay attention, after they do their first production run, they can look at it and they can make corrections to the program. Usually by the third run, if that company cares, there shouldn't be any errors whatsoever. At that point, the little bit of handwork that goes in these guitars, if again we're talking price point, everyone knows China can make a good guitar. China can also make a guitar. And I would say that was true in the United States too. When Fender made guitars here, now really Gibson, Kiesel, there's still companies that do. But I'm talking about when they made just, we're going to make this in the USA and just skated through. I guess it would have been late 70s, early 80s, when a lot of these companies, before they started offshore and stuff, you know, they just decreased the man hours that they put on dressing the frets, polishing the body. I think it's possible now to decrease that even more with today's polishing machines and today's compounds that don't burn through the finishes like they did in the 80s because it was too aggressive. You know, these Gibson, Fender, you know, Samac and Cort over there or overseas, they're making so many guitars. They know what compound works on what finishes. You know, they've thinned out the finishes to save money for this company or this company. They put more finish on because this company, they have gained all that experience. So when a company calls them and says, you know, we want 2 coats of this and we want this finish, they can go, okay, we've done this 100,000 times for this model and this model and this model. We need this compound and this wheel. You can't beat experience. And Cort makes a lot of guitars. And it doesn't matter whether they're making a $200 guitar for them, which they're going to sell for $400 or $500 at a $300 price point to the manufacturer. Everything they do, they're going to write down and learn from. If they give them more money, let's say they give them $1,000 to build that guitar. They know exactly where to put that money to keep that price point down so that main company, Fender or Schecter or whoever it is, they can turn around and make their mark. This guitar right here is proof of it. Looking at, that's a $450 guitar. It's crazy good. It really is.
Jerry said, so what all is hands-on with guitars nowadays? Assembly?
Basic assembly and your fretwork. Everything else is pretty much plug and play. There's a little bit of solder work that needs to be done on the guitar.
What about the finishing?
The finishing, but most of that, you know, Cort is not, they don't have a man in the spray booth, I guarantee you. If they do, that guy's just blowing them out. It's going to come through, he's going to hit it, rotate it, hit it, and it's going to, you know, it's not going to be like Kiesel where they go into a smaller booth and they spray 15 or 20 bodies. Cort is doing, and Samac, or Samick, however you pronounce it, they're doing a lot of guitars. So when you do that many guitars, I would say they have something that's set up on a fixture, and the guitar pocket, there's a fixture that threads onto it. It comes into that booth, he sprays it. It's probably X amount of time it spins. You know, they've got the routine. However they're doing it, It's designed to save time. It's just like Ford and Chrysler. If you watch that car go through the assembly line, there's like 15 or 20 guns that come across that guitar. And they've got they've got the PLC, the programming wrote down on those automated arms to spray X amount of distance from that panel at all times. It's production. People talk it's production. Well, after you produce it so many times and you have a problem here or a problem there, you can go in and change your programming. Those companies make a lot of guitars. They're making a tremendous amount of guitars. So they can't offer that kind of price point and have someone sitting there doing a lot of handwork. I would say your soldering, that still has to be done by hand because it's in the body. All your fret work, your fret leveling, fret end dressing, your finish work, everything else is going to be farmed out. Well, your basic assembly. But as far as making a bridge, no one's going to make a bridge. There's going to be someone into metallurgy that does the casting and the machining and the deburring. Then it's going to leave them. It's going to go to powder coating. So whoever the powder coater company is, all that stuff's going to show up to their factory, pre-finished and done. They screw it on the guitar, and then it goes down to the next person. Same with the tuning keys. They're not, they're not making the tuning keys. There's a manufacturer. All they do is make tuning keys. So they're ordering in. Of course, the more they order, the cheaper they get it. So it's just basic assembly. And the less man hours you put in this guitar, the cheaper the price point. So that's why I'm saying it has to be pretty well automated to get the price point. Because if everyone thinks, China's a cheap labor, but a lot of these factories are in the city. So the country folk move in, they work in these cities, but the city's expensive to live in. So in the last 20 years, the cost of manufacturing in China has really went up. That's why a lot of companies now are going to Asia, like India. India's doing a lot of guitar work now. Indonesia. The Indonesia rate per hour and the India rate per hour is now cheaper than China. And it has been for a couple of years. That's why you're seeing, over the last, let's say, 8 to 10 years, you're seeing Korea, Indonesia, and now India coming in. And it all comes down to it's cheaper labor. So China isn't the cheap guy on the block anymore. It's some of these other countries. That's why you see the other guitar Linnell has. Sorry guys, I'm talking too much. The Chapman now is made in India. It has nothing to do with quality, trust me. It has to do with they got a better price point to manufacture that guitar in India. Guarantee it. When I talk like that and I don't drink, I get really dry. That's just how I see it. I don't know anyone that lives in China, don't work in China, but I know how business works. When you start building large cities for workers and you have huge factories, the cost of living goes up because now you have to create housing. They need a place to live, a place to work. And the more they have, rent and stuff, the more you have to make. The bigger the city gets, the more the cost of living goes up. So if you look at Singapore, it's not a small town anymore. It used to be a farming town. It's huge. In the last 40 years, that thing went from crop fields to a major metropolitan, manufacturing super city. So it's not cheap to live there anymore. The standard worker needs to make more money. And the same thing will happen in India. The same thing will happen in Indonesia. It's what happened here. Look at Detroit, Michigan. The cost of living went up because of all the manufacturing. People started moving out. And then eventually the companies went elsewhere. They went to Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas, cheaper labor. It was here first before it went over there. They started moving around the United States. Why do you think Peavey built where they built, down in Mississippi? It was cheaper in Mississippi than to build a plant in Northern Virginia, where I live. It was just cheaper. It was cheaper to build down there than Michigan. So that's why they moved to the South. It was cheaper labor. Vietnam makes pretty good guitars. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Vietnams. Vietnamese, it's all good stuff. That's what I was saying. That CNC has just changed things, guys. It's a completely different animal. What I used to do by hand, routing, and setting up in the shop, I can do in 10% of the time on a CNC machine. Is it done? No. But by the time I manually set up fixtures to do a piece of work, I can program it and run it on the CNC in 10% of the time, especially one-off work. If you're doing mass production, it scales. That's the thing. A lot of time people make fixtures, and you might get 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 runs on a made fixture out of wood. A program, you can keep over and over and over and over, because the backlash of the machine or the repeatability of the machine does change over years. So every month, let's say you reset your backlash, you get your machine back up into tolerance. The program never changes. It's just the amount of slop or the repeatability the machine has. When a machine gets out of spec, a company sells the machine if it's not worth fixing, and then they replace their tooling with faster machines that run at a faster feed rate. But it scales. That's how you have to look at it. The more product they make, the cheaper it becomes. That's just scaling. And it could happen here again, guys. If a company wanted to, look at Gibson. I'm not saying Gibsons are cheap, but if you look at what a Gibson cost in the, let's say, early 80s, late 80s, and you look at what your dollar bought, Gibson, I would say, is actually cheaper now per dollar value than it was then. Why? Why is it cheaper now? People are like, it's not cheaper, it's twice the price. Well, I make more than twice the money than I made 35 years ago. Housing has went up 4 times. So how come the price of that guitar hasn't went up 4 times? If I look at my first house, to buy that same house now, it would be 4 or 5 times what I paid for it back then. I make 4 or 5 times the amount of money that I made back then. So it's moot. But guitar pricing hasn't. It hasn't followed that curve. The pay scales went here, and guitar pricing has not followed. So in reality, I would say Gibson, a $3,000 Les Paul, $3,400 Les Paul is cheaper now than it was in the mid-'80s. Now, I'm not talking about Murphy Lab and the crazy $7,000, $10,000 Les Paul. We're just talking about the standard Les Paul. Starts at about $2,700 and goes to about $3,500. And that's a well-spec guitar, just like the one that I would look at back in the 80s. I wasn't looking at the Kalamazoo, Michigan stuff, the custom shop. I was looking at their basic production run guitar. It's cheaper. If you look at the cost of inflation and everything, the Gibson's cheaper. It could still be done here. Gibson's proved that. They're doing NC work as much as they can on the NC, but they're still trying to manually wrap their bindings the old school way. I get it. they want to keep tradition in with the Les Paul and the binding. You can't tell me that there's not a more efficient way of doing that. With today's modern CA glues, you can't tell me someone couldn't put CA glue on that and take their hand with a tool and push that binding in and hit it with accelerator as they're going around the guitar. As soon as that accelerator hits it, it's going to be hard. Or, since it's CNC body, it should be within X tolerance. You build a fixture box, put the binding in it, it comes in, clamps the body, and use a UV accelerant glue where UV light cures it. It stays porous and does not set up until UV light hits it. So you use non-UV lighting. You get all your binding on with that special glue. You pick it up in the fixture. Bam! Hit it with the UV light. It's cured in 10 seconds. Pop the fixture off. Your body's done. If Gibson did that, that would save them. I'm not saying that's the way they should do it. Either CA, there's with today's glues, there's no reason for them to sit there and mummify a guitar. I don't know if you all have seen them when they're doing the binding. They're running that thing around the body, and they've got this little. That's something from 50 years ago. If Gibson just updated that to modern glues and modern cures like UV or an accelerated glue or accelerant glue, 10 times better. I get they still want to use nitrocellulose because that's fine. But there's things that they could do in the nitrocellulose. They could kick in a little more catalyst in it, hardener, to where the finish hardens faster. I don't know, maybe save a little time there. But there's tons of things that Gibson could do to speed up that process to get production going. I watched that video of them sitting there binding that guitar, and I'm sitting there going, this is crazy. Why are they turning this guitar into something, it looks like a mummy? And it sits there overnight like that. I get it. Like I said, I guess it's tradition. But in today's world, I think they would be better served to use a more modern approach there. I mean, they've already introduced CNC. They're not hand carving the bodies anymore on their production guitars. So maybe Gibson should go back and this is our handmade guitar. It's hand scalloped, hand sanded. The necks are done by hand. This is a $10,000 guitar. Here's our production guitar that was done on the CNC. We're using UV light accelerant glues, UV light cure finishes, which is super nice. You hang the guitar up, you spray this finish on it. It's not dry. Okay? You use a leveling finish. You take the light across it. It's instantly dry. You can sand on it in a minute. You can sand it. It's cured, done. There, have a whole nother guitar line that is a production-based guitar. I think that would save Gibson. But there's still Gibson diehard people out there. It's like Harley people. Harley people want a Harley because it's a Harley. But a lot of the diehard Harley and Gibson people are getting older now. And the newer generation needs to be excited. So Gibson needs to come out with something that's going to excite the younger players. At some point they're going to have this crossover. They're either going to make it or they're not going to make it. Guitar companies like Schecter, they're killing it. That new, what is it, Johnson? It's Johnston or Johnson guitar that they have. It's like $800. That thing is killer. That's a killer guitar. It's CNC. It's an automated guitar. It's a killer guitar. Gibson has nothing to compete with that. In my opinion, Fender really doesn't have anything to compete. At that price point, you can't compete with it. Now, does Fender compete in the $3,000 to $4,000 price point? Maybe. But at the $800 to $900 price point, that Schecter traditional Stratocaster just blows the Player 2 out of the water for $850. If you put the Fender Player 2, which is like $850, and that Schecter side by side, the Schecter's got it beat hands down as far as dollar for dollar value. We're going to say that. Are they both going to play nice? Most likely. They're both going to play nice. Are they both made well? Yes, I would say Fender makes a good guitar. We just reviewed one. I didn't see any machining errors in it. Granted, it was an Indonesian, but it's still a Fender. Didn't see any problems with the guitar. It was well made. I can guarantee you that Schecter is going to be the exact same way. The pocket, the neck pocket, the step overs, general fit and finish on that Schecter is going to be good. It's just you're getting a little bit more of a modern twist on the Schecter, a different radius. It's just, in my opinion, it's just a better buy. It's definitely going to have better pickups. The lower cost Fenders, the pickups sometimes are a little weak. If you go back and listen to that video I did, the first, third, and fifth position on that guitar were very noisy. Very noisy. You guys are talking about color. Schecter is making a very good guitars, especially in the $1,200 to $1,500 range. Rezo, I don't think the model I'm talking about, I know they have like 3 versions of that. I think it's a Nick Johnston. They make an 800, which is like $850. Then they make a $2,000 one. Then they make their USA custom shop version that thinks like over $4,000. So they have 3 versions of that guitar. The cheap one is nice. That's a nice guitar. And I'm sure the USA custom shop one's a great guitar too. But yeah, Schecter, I think Kramer's killing it for what you get in a Kramer. When I bought these, now they've went up. I think now the Berettas are about $850. Granted, it's just one pickup and a tremolo, but it's a well-made guitar. You know, you're paying for the quality, and it's a quality instrument. Is it the best bang for the buck? Probably not. But you are purchasing a quality instrument, and if you want the single pickup, 80s, rock guitar, the Beretta's it. Same with the older Kramers. The old Kramer Pacer Imperials, like the one I have. That's just an 80s machine. If you want that, the Kramer's a good bang for the buck at the $800 price point. What I was saying is that it's a more traditional, that Schecter's more traditional, okay, than the standard metal Schecters. So if you compare that to a Fender 2, I'm going to lean towards the Schecter as far as not having both in my hand. I'm gonna say I would think the Schecter would be a better fit and finish and a better playability.
Birdman's gotta go.
Oh, okay, Birdman. Good having you in the show, man. And glad to have everyone back that returns. That's what's cool when we have return people. The Omen Extreme. Every time I look at an Omen Extreme, I can't see how they make that guitar for that price point. That is a nice guitar, the Omen Extreme. I like that guitar. I've looked at that several times. That is a sharp guitar. And that was Stefan brought that up. I saw an Omen Extreme with an FR, and I think it was like $900. I think the one you're talking about for $600, I think that one's a fixed bridge, is it not? I'm pretty sure it's a fixed bridge. He says, Rizzo agreed. This is Penagore. I had an LTD M200 FM neck through that was better than my older ESPs in terms of neck and features. I know ESP in the late 80s, early 90s were just stupid good guitars. I can't tell you anything. I would say 2000 forward. Now, I haven't picked up an ESP version. It's all been LTDs. And LTD has really stepped up their game in the last 10 years as far as what they're offering. LTD was like a budget guitar. I don't consider LTD a budget guitar anymore. I would say LTD is, it's definitely not budget. It's what ESP was in the late 80s, early 90s, especially when you get in the $1,200 to $1,600 price point. And Steven says, yes, it was a fixed bridge at 600. Yeah, I thought it would be. But I've looked at that guitar, and that is a beautiful guitar with the finishes that they offer. And again, I don't see how they make that guitar for that price point. And that, guys, that brings me back to me offering a custom guitar. There's no way I can manufacture a guitar like what Stefan's talking about, the Omen, with the work that's in the neck inlays and the body work. It's impossible. Yeah, it really is. But if you buy a solid instrument like that, it's $600. Schecter's known for having really decent fretwork, stuff like that. You can buy that guitar, take it to somebody like me or whoever your favorite guy is, do a little bit better fret end dressing on it, polish the frets up really good on it, put your favorite pickups in it, and you're still going to be, let's say you go crazy with it, you're still going to be well below, okay, like the new Jackson Americans. They're coming out like $2,700. Or the mid-price Schecter, okay, Nick Johnson, that's like $1,900. You buy an Omen for $6, you can double it. Okay, say you put another $600 in pickups and whatever bells and whistles you want to get, and you pay another $400 to have the pickups and the frets polished. At that point, you're not doing a fret level. You might be fixing a fret here or there and cleaning up some end dressings, but that's much easier than doing a whole fret level. You should be able to do all that work for $6, so $12. That's going to put you right at the mid-level Nick Johnson, but it's going to have everything you want. Your pickups, whatever, it's going to be set up to your liking. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't go to a custom builder and expect to build something like that at that price point. And I think there's even better guitars out there like this one. I think they looked it up on Sweetwater. It's $450. Now, granted, this is a pretty basic guitar. It's just got basic inlays here. But if you want a working man's guitar, these frets are pretty decent. You spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on these frets, I mean, you can make them like stupid perfect in 2 hours. Couple little end dressings here and there, give them a good polish, switch out the pickups, and if you're on the road touring, put some high-end tuners on it that slip zero. You can do all that and be under, in parts, $700. So even if you paid someone to do it, it's still going to put this guitar in the $1,100 to $1,200 price range, and it's going to be it would just be a killer guitar. And I'm saying that's paying your tech decent. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel where we're completely disassembling the guitar, doing a fret level, doing polishing. It's a brand new guitar. At that point, you're not really tinkering with the body. You're just looking at the general fretwork, fixing any errors because it's a fast guitar. When I say fast, it means it's built fast. It's production. You're going back over what was already done and you're cleaning up their work. You're adding maybe a push-pull or maybe you want to split the pickup, something like that. It's just the way to do it, in my opinion, versus going out and spending custom shop money on these guitars. And I could be wrong. If you have the money, I would love to go on Kiesel and type me up a custom made guitar and just order it and it show up to my house. Here it is. Here's my dream Kiesel. It cost me $3,200. If I had the money, I would probably do it. I don't have that kind of money to just kind of throw into a Kiesel. So I kind of see, I work on guitars, so I kind of see the struggle some people have. Sometimes you just bond with the guitar and you just want to keep that guitar alive. Like my Peavies. I want to keep my Peavies as long as I possibly can. So anything that I can do to keep that guitar living, whether it's hydrating the neck, keeping the frets polished, making sure that my humidifier in my house is right and the house is stable. Everything I can possibly do to keep my purchases, alive and well. And that humidity works with your equipment in your house too, like these mixers. Now I smoke, so that's bad on potentiometers, but I haven't in the last year and a half, I used to take towels and all my equipment stayed covered at all times. Everything got towels put over it. So no dust, no nothing. I've kind of slacked off in the last year and a half. That's why I've been having problems with my Mackie. It's gotten dust down in because I leave the back pushed out so the board sets out. So I need to go through and clean it. But if you take care of your stuff, you should get years and years and years of use out of it. You really should. No guitar is worth over $1,500 to me. The best ones are already made anyway. Ha! I gotta agree with you. I do. I see that. All I'm saying is if you want to build something that's yours, okay? And I'm struggling with that right now. I really want a Gibson Les Paul with P90s. It's just something I want. Is it justifiable? It isn't right now. But it is a want that I have. Maybe I would buy it and that would be it. Maybe I'd go, okay, it isn't this or it isn't that. But for whatever reason, I want a real Gibson Les Paul with P90s in it. And it could be one of those things after I get it, I realized, okay, it isn't what I thought it would be. Maybe that would happen. But right now, that's like a dream guitar for me. Another dream guitar for me is an original 1987 or 88 Peavey Vandenberg in hot pink. I want one. I want one. I want one. I have a black one. The one I have is a 90 and it's in black. But I want an 87 with the Kahler Killer in pink. I must not want one bad enough because right now, over the last year, there have been two for sale in great condition, almost mint condition. Whether or not they sold, they kind of disappeared. There's another one. And they were listed for, I think, $2,400, $2,500. Is that a hateful price? No, because I know what the guitar is, and I know the longevity of the guitar, and I know that it's a good guitar. That's still cheaper than buying a new Gibson. It's still cheaper than buying a Fender USA made Strat. So I guess technically it's not a hateful price. It's just what you're comfortable with. And I think, Rezo, that's what it is. You got to be comfortable, and it has to be something that you want, if that makes sense. Like some people will only play a Marshall amplifier. It doesn't matter. It's got to be a Marshall. For them, that's their amp. For me, I'm kind of open to amplifiers now, especially over the last 2 years. I've been running the Synergy module lately. We've been playing Linnell's little Yamaha amp. I got the little Line 6. So I'm kind of dipping my toes in a bunch of different swimming pools, checking out the water temperature in a couple different places. And I think there's so many options out there. There really is. No, man, there's not a guitar worth more than $1,500. I don't know. I think if I found a Van, I'll put it to you this way. If I run across a PV Vandenberg in hot pink in mint condition for $2,000 or definitely 1,800, I will buy it. Period. I won't even think about it. I'm just click buy now. For me, that is at the $1,800 price point. That would be unquestionable. I don't have to worry about it. 1,800. That's a steal because I know what the guitars sell for. At 2,500, I know they sell for that. Would I pay that for it? No, I just haven't yet. But everyone's different. You talk to somebody else in the chat, they might say the exact opposite. They might say, well, if it's not a Gibson Murphy Lab, it's not worth owning. So I think it comes down to personal preference. But again, I agree with you. In today's world, there's so many guitars that you can buy in the $400 to $900 price range that are really crazy good. Especially the $650 to $800 price range. That market, the $650 to $800, has really exploded in the last 4 years. And that used to be an iffy market, but it's not anymore. That's a solid. You can get a solid instrument in that price bracket. Rezo says, nope, not me. That's what it's about, man. Everybody's different. I mean, I wanted a nice tube amp. And one of the channel moderators, Mike, he told me about Egnator. And I was looking around and I saw so many high prices on the Egnator. And he told me, he said, don't do it, don't do it. He said, one's going to come along in good price, it'll be in good shape for a good price. He said, you should be able to get one of those for $400 and under in good shape. I'm like, Mike, they're all 7, 8, He said, don't buy them. He said, one's going to come up. It's going to be $400-ish dollars. It's going to be in good shape. And he was right. About 3 months later, my Renegade that I have right here come up on Marketplace for $350, and I bought it. Love that amplifier. It's got such a awesome clean sound, and the crunch tones, and it's got diversity, reverb, and then it's got 6L6 and an EL84 power amp section, so you can blend it. It's a great amplifier. It's a great amplifier. Love that tube amp. I still use my rack. Nothing wrong with it. But I wanted something more traditional, with a more traditional sound to it. And the Egnator filled that void. And I didn't have to spend $2,500 on a new Fender. So that's how I kind of looked at it. I want a Warwick. Oh, yeah, bass. Yeah, I was going to say that's going to be $8K. I think everybody wants one of those, Kurt. Actually, guys, my bass is out here. I was talking to my son on Skype the other night. Let me show you my bass. A guitar that has not been shown on the channel. This is a Squier custom shop. And before anyone says Squier did not have a custom shop, they did. This is my second Squier custom shop. No one wanted to spend $850 on a Squier bass. They just did not sell. People were like, I'm not paying $850 for a Squier bass. And Squier, this is 100% stock. Yes, those are EMGs. It has a blend, bass boost, tone, volume, and phase. all built in. Yes, that is a Rich-Lite fingerboard. Never knew Squier did Rich-Lite, did ya? Uh-huh. Well, they did it 15 years ago, before Rich-Lite was popular. Look at the shine on that Rich-Lite. And yes, it is a Squier. Squier made custom shop instruments. This is my baby. It's my 5-string baby. Love this thing. So before anybody says anything, Squier did make Rich-Lite fingerboards. Yes, this is a 5-string. And it's a one-piece neck, no glue joint on the headstock. It is one solid piece of maple. No glue joint. I think it does have a 2-piece body. Yes, it is a 2-piece body. See. So what do you guys think of it? Squier made some awesome instruments. They really did. So this is Squier Custom Shop Jazz Bass. Factory loaded EMGs. I forget which tailpiece this is, but it's a solid brass dipped in chrome. And when you take this thing off, it's just a heavy sucker. That's a beautiful bass. I think it's about 15 years old now. I guess I should look up the serial number and find out what year it was actually made. Yeah, I mean, you're right, they're a very popular bass. But it's a Squier. So this is Squier Custom Shop. My second custom shop. And I've got the flight case for it. Very, very solid flight case. Four latches. Has the Fender logo. Look at the size of those latches. It's a monster. And I don't know if everyone has seen my other, how many people know what a Squier M80 is? Anybody know what a Squier M80 is? Hey, Vox, what's up? That's my other custom shop guitar. Let me go get the Squier M80 since we're on Squier night. Here is another custom shop Squier. And you can see that it is a set neck guitar. Anybody know that Squier did a set neck? Well, here's proof. It's a set neck Squire. That's an M80. Seymour Duncan pickups from the factory. And the inlays has this little cross thing in it right here. The abalone cross in the inlay. These are my two custom shop Squires. This is a kick butt little guitar. I ran across this. When did I get this? About a year and a half ago, hon?
Yeah, something like that.
About a year and a half ago. I ran across this on Marketplace. A guy owned a music store in Culpeper, Virginia. And he had one of his friends going through his collection of guitars that he didn't sell from his music store. And this was one of them. And they put the guitar up. So the guitar was never played. It was in the music store. It never sold. He went out of business, and this was something that he kept. So it stayed in the case all those years. I ended up picking it up. I guess you could call it new old stock. It's a very cool guitar. Looks similar to my Vox Standard Model 24. I have to look it up. Is the Vox a set neck? Look at the contour on that neck, how it's made, how it's set back. I mean, it's when people say Squire, in my little squirrel brain, I'm thinking the Squires like this. I'm thinking people go, oh, Squire. Squire made some nice instruments. They really did try to make some nice stuff. But this is my M80. That's my only two custom shop Squires I have. They only did custom shop for about 5 years. I think they did the custom shop stuff, and it just did not go over well. It's not that it was poor quality. It's just people saw this name and they just didn't want to pay the price. People were like, well, why would I pay more money for the Squire? I could buy the Fender for the same price or a little less. So it just didn't go over well. And that was just because of the big parent company. Like I say, some of the Squires were more than the Fenders. Let me put this thing back in the case, guys. It only comes out for special occasions. I'll be honest with you guys. Starting YouTube and doing YouTube has taught me so much. I guess you could, people talk about guitar snobs. I guess I was a guitar snob. Well, I'd probably say I was, because there was just certain things that I just would not. I wouldn't play this. I wouldn't play that. I always said, well, I don't like that, or I don't like this. And I said it without really having a good, solid, I guess, how do I say it? I was saying something that I shouldn't say because I hadn't played with something enough to really formulate a solid opinion on it. I've maybe picked it up and went, I don't like it, and just kind of brushed it off. But doing YouTube, and picking up so many different guitars and going, well, I like this, and then keeping the guitar for a little bit and then going, well, maybe it was just something new I liked, or listening, even going back to my videos and listening to that guitar sound in the recording, going, that guitar sounds really good. This guitar sounds really good. This guitar's You know, I always try to make it as close as what the room noise is. That's why I use the two open mics in the room. When I do guitar reviews, the cabinet's not mic'd down here. It's usually room mics right by the camera. I want to pick up the room sound. What's it sound like in the room? What can you expect it to sound like through an Egnator or through a rack or whatever? It's room tone. It has taught me so much. And I've also learned sometimes when I thought I had a bad tone, I go back and listen to it and go, wow, that actually sounded really good. So what I've started to do, and I've started to write down my amp settings. So when I go back and listen to it, it's like, well, that sounds too MIDI. And then while I'm doing the editing, I try not to change the amp, and I'll go over and go, okay, how do I have the amp set? And I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to move my camera here a little bit. See those little white pieces of tape, blue pieces of tape on the floor? Yeah, that's for my cameras. Okay. Now I got my thing all messed up now, don't I? So that's for my cameras. So I've got H2 and H3. Each camera on the side. These are the cameras that I use. They're in the small rig unit. If you look right there on the side, H2, H3. They're identical. They have the quick release system. So when I set this on the pod, I flip a lever and it locks it. So the camera can't move. So I have these two. And then this guy, which isn't that good because it gets hot. It's an old GoPro 8, and you can see the screen's kind of messed up on the face of it. So that's all I'm using. So right next to this camera, there's a microphone, and that's it. Those spots on the floor, that's where they sit. They do not move from those locations. Everything that you see is shot based on that tape on the floor. I try to do that to where I'm trying to save time on the editing. That way I know if I set the camera up right there and I do this, X is in the shot. So at that point, I'm trying to save editing time. Because the videos I do are really long, so it takes a long time to edit them. Anything I can do to save me a little time on the editing, it's better for me. So the mics are set back here when I'm recording. I go back and I listen to some of these guitars. I'm like, wow, that guitar sounded good. It's taught me so much. Like this little Squier Nashville Strat I have. There's something about that guitar I like. 10 years ago, I would have looked at you and said, I'm not playing a Squier. I'm not going to play a Squier. Why would I play a beginner's guitar? Now, I would look at you seriously. And I might have even said bad things. I might have put the F-bomb or something like that on it. I was like, why am I going to play a Squier? I've got this. It's better. Doing YouTube has taught me a lot. It really has. It's taught me sometimes you can get a good quality guitar at a decent price. If you buy a budget guitar, sometimes you can get a budget guitar and put a little work in it and get a nice guitar. And it's also taught me sometimes you can spend, like Rezzo's talking about, $1,500 and get a guitar. So now when I go in the music store, we all buy by our eyes. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. Now I go in and go, and I play it. It may not be my cup of tea. It might be a body style that just isn't me. But I'm going to pick it up. I want to play it. I want to see how it feels to me, especially if it's something that I hear on YouTube. There's a big buzz. Have you played this guitar? Have you played that guitar? The Revstar I just bought. That guitar is out in left field compared to anything else I own. But I like it. I like that guitar. I think I said in the last live stream, every time I play that little guitar, there's something about it. But if I saw the Revstar sitting at Guitar Center, I would walk right past it because it's not a Super Strat. It's not shaped cool like this or like the Beretta. You know, these are my Super Strats. The Revstar is the exact opposite of a Super Strat. It's got the big fat bottom end. You know, there's no tremolo on it. It's a fixed bridge.
Devastator said he's got a killer purple budget guitar he got from some weird guy on YouTube. LOL.
Yeah, Devastator's got a guitar that I did for him. That's a Firefly. There's been 3 Fireflies guitars on this channel that have just really impressed me. The purple Strat that Devastator bought, okay. The ash, I don't remember what color it was now. The Les Paul one, which I think Devastator wanted that one, but it had already sold. So I sold him the purple ash Strat. And then the one Juke bought, that one. They have been the 3 best Fireflies. The absolute worst Firefly has been on my channel is the FFN that I did all the videos on. Now, that guitar is just as good. Well, it plays smoother than 80% of the guitars I have. It's just a smooth, but I did a tremendous amount of work to it. I don't play it that much. I don't know why. I was getting ready to say I'm more of a dark fingerboard person, but this Kramer's got a light fingerboard. Now, for whatever reason, this Kramer and my Kramer Assault both have light fingerboards, and I've taken to these. But usually, maple fingerboards, it's not that they don't play nice. I think they play great. But usually, they don't stick around long. I'm more of a rosewood, ebony type player, rich light, like so on my other Squire. I just like the darker woods. Maybe it's a whole mental thing. I don't know. This guitar, I'm saying it plays so. It's got, I'm sure this is probably Indian Laurel at this price. At the $450 price, I doubt this is rosewood. I haven't looked up the specs on it. But it's probably Indian Laurel or some other rosewood alternative.
Box Guitar says his puppy's doing the same thing that yours is. Let's talk about Wolfie.
Oh, yeah, Wolfie's just zonked out.
He said his puppy's doing the same thing.
Yeah. He's probably telling me, hey, Dad, you got to get up and go to work tomorrow. Friday mornings, guys, I drag because everyone's kind of gotten used to this channel doing long live streams. And I love the conversations. And I think I've said this before. Everyone's here because everyone has an opinion. And that's what we want to hear. Like Jerry was talking about earlier about floating tremolos. Everyone's had their life. And those experiences in their life playing, you form your view, and there's nothing wrong with that. Your view, has just as much say in here as anybody else's. And there's a reason why Jerry said X, just like what Devastator said earlier about his guitar. There's a reason why he said X. That's what we want to hear. Because for years I didn't pick up guitars because I had already formulated an opinion, and YouTube wasn't around. A bunch of people didn't get together like this and discuss the instruments they have. So I was around a select group that played a lot of hair music. They played Jackson, they played Charvels, they played stuff like that. ESP, those were the guitars. Zion, Robin. If they had money, they played a Robin or a Zion. That's what I was around. I played Peavies, and they all looked at me as like, oh, you play a Peavey. Because the thing was, that was it. Charvel, Jackson, Zion, Robin, ESP. These were the go-to brands playing that kind of music. That's just how it was. So I guess being around it, you were kind of like, Squire, Gibson, because very few people at that point were playing Gibsons. I think if it wasn't for Guns N' Roses coming in, refreshing the Gibson was on a bad downturn right then. If you all remember, they come out with that. It looked like kind of like a Strat, okay, like this, with the Explorer headstock on it, and they stuck a Kahler bridge on it. I forget what model it was. They done a couple guitars like that just didn't. They were late to the party. Well, by the time Gibson got that guitar out, the Seattle sound and the grunge music was already coming into focus. Here comes Gibson coming out with their late 80s Super Shredder, 5 years late. They just missed it. So the people I played with, the Gibson just wasn't there. It just wasn't. Because we were doing dive bombs and tricks and stuff like that. And I think Guns N' Roses, I know that they were doing, he was playing the Les Paul for many, many years. There's been other artists, but the people I played around, a lot of Jacksons. They liked Jackson. Jackson was the thing. Slash, yep. Yeah, I heard that Slashes wasn't really a Gibson. I had heard that once before, that it wasn't a Gibson. You're not the first person that brought that up. I don't know. I just know that he did the Gibson Marshall thing for a long time. Been propped up by Gibson and Marshall. Now he's with Magnatone or something, Megatone or whatever that other amp company is. That he did lose in his endorsement with Marshall. I think he's still with Marshall. So now he's got two. I don't know how that works, but I guess he's got a big enough name he can pull it off. All right, guys. I don't mean to cut it short tonight, but my throat's getting hoarse, and we have done 2 hours and 53 minutes. So that means we have done over the YouTube standard. And that's what it's about. Always trying to break the YouTube AI system and do everything we can possibly do that the AI doesn't like and penalizes you for. That's what this channel is going to do. So I think we've proven our goal for tonight. I do want to say something. We did finally get to 2,000, and this week we've gained like more subs than we normally gain. We're at like 2011 or something. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're in here chatting and stuff, just go down, at least hit the like button for us. It does help the YouTube algorithm. And if you would, I work really hard for your subscription. I do some detailed videos on guitar reviews. We're getting ready to, we're working on Jupe's guitar that's in the chat. Getting ready to do a whole series on taking a well-loved guitar. Jupe loved this guitar. You can tell he played it. The frets had some spots in them. But we're going through this Schecter, and we're going to bring it back to life and make it a super guitar again. And I'm covering it from disassembling it all the way back to restringing it and setting up the intonation. That's fret leveling, building a new bridge, addressing everything on the guitar. So each week or every other week, we're going to have a video on that. And Dr.
Zoom.
Dr. Zoom. How are you, Dr. Zoom? If you're new to the chat, we're getting ready to call it quits. I'm sorry, Dr. Zoom. You're catching the tail end of the show. But if you're new and you're a subscriber, it's great to have you on the live chat. If you're not a subscriber, go watch some of my review videos, look at some of the other live videos, and the people that chat in the live. Everyone's here to help you. It's a community. Hopefully, when you go back and you watch that stuff, the people here will earn your subscription, and the channel will get larger. But as we do in every live chat, I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit the 5-minute window. And that's where you guys can finish up your conversations and do all that. It gives you 5 minutes to tidy everything up. It also gives you a little bit of time to go down in the comment section and write a quick comment and hit the like button. All right, guys. Saturday night, we do a live stream again. So I hope I see everybody there. And again, thank you guys so much. You guys make the stream what it is. Without the conversation, it's no fun. Without you guys adding to the content and helping and answering questions. So thank you guys so much. And here's the 5-minute in chat.